The morning started like any other for Jake Thompson. He stood on the deck of his small research boat, watching the sun rise over the Florida Keys. The ocean stretched out in all directions, calm and blue under the early light. Jake had been a marine biologist for 8 years now, and he loved these quiet moments before the day began. Jake checked his equipment one more time. Today, he planned to collect water samples from 3 different locations. The university needed data about fish populations and water quality. It was routine work, but Jake enjoyed being out on the water. He preferred the ocean to sitting behind a desk in some lab. The weather forecast had mentioned possible storms later in the day. Jake looked at the clear sky and shrugged. He had dealt with plenty of storms before. His boat was small but sturdy. He knew these waters well. Jake started the engine and headed toward his first sampling point. The boat cut through the calm water easily. Dolphins swam alongside for a few minutes before disappearing back into the deep blue. Jake smiled. Even after all these years, seeing dolphins still made him happy. By noon, Jake had finished collecting samples from 2 locations. The sun was getting hot and he was looking forward to heading back to shore soon. He had one more stop to make at a reef about 5 miles south. That was when the weather changed. Dark clouds appeared on the horizon faster than Jake had ever seen before. The wind picked up quickly, making the water choppy.
Jake looked at his weather radio.
The storm was bigger than predicted and moving much faster. Jake made a decision. He would skip the 3rd sampling point and head back to shore right away. But as he turned his boat around, the storm hit with surprising force. The wind became fierce within minutes. Waves that had been small suddenly grew to 6 feet tall, then 8 feet, then even bigger. Rain started falling hard, making it difficult to see. Jake held tight to the wheel as his boat rode up and down the huge waves. The storm was unlike anything Jake had experienced before. The waves were massive and came from all directions. His small boat felt like a toy being tossed around by an angry child. Jake used all his skill to keep the boat pointed into the waves so it would not tip over. Lightning flashed across the dark sky. Thunder followed seconds later, loud enough to hurt his ears. The rain fell so hard that Jake could barely see 20 feet in any direction. He checked his GPS to make sure he was still heading toward shore. That was when Jake saw something in the water. At first, he thought it might be debris from another boat. Something large and dark was struggling in the waves about 100 yards away. Jake wiped rain from his eyes and looked more carefully. Whatever it was alive. Jake had seen many sea creatures during his years as a marine biologist. He had rescued dolphins caught in fishing nets and helped beached whales return to deep water. But this creature looked different from anything he had ever seen. It was huge, maybe 12 feet long and 6 feet wide. The thing had what looked like fur instead of smooth skin like a whale or dolphin. Most strange of all, Jake could see 6 limbs thrashing in the water instead of the normal 4 that most large sea animals had. The creature was clearly in trouble. It kept sinking below the surface and then fighting its way back up. Something heavy seemed to be pulling it down. Jake could see metal straps or chains around its body. Jake faced a difficult choice. The smart thing would be to continue heading for shore. The storm was dangerous and his small boat was already being pushed to its limits. Trying to rescue a large, unknown creature in these conditions was risky, but Jake could not just sail away. The creature was drowning. If it was intelligent, it was probably terrified. Even if it was just an animal, Jake could not let it die when he might be able to help. Jake turned his boat toward the struggling creature. Fighting against the wind and waves, he slowly made his way closer. As he got nearer, he could see more details that made him even more confused. The creature had what looked like a cat face but much larger. Its eyes were bright blue and showed clear intelligence. The fur covering its body was dark but seemed to shimmer with different colors when lightning lit up the sky. Most shocking of all, the metal straps around its body looked like they had been made by intelligent hands. This was no ordinary sea animal. The creature saw Jake approaching and made sounds that were clearly attempts to communicate. The sounds were deep and musical, like a cat purring but much louder. The creature's eyes met Jake's, and Jake saw something that convinced him this being was asking for help. Jake quickly put together a plan. He had a winch on his boat that he used for pulling up heavy research equipment from the ocean floor. If he could get a rope around the creature, he might be able to pull it aboard. Getting close enough was the hard part. The waves kept pushing his boat around, and he had to be careful not to hit the creature with his propeller. Jake threw his anchor to keep the boat in position as much as possible. The creature seemed to understand what Jake was trying to do. When Jake threw a rope toward it, the creature managed to grab the rope with what looked like hands at the end of its front limbs. Working together, Jake and the strange being got the rope secured around the creature's body, above the metal straps that were weighing it down. Jake started the winch and slowly began pulling the creature out of the water. It was the hardest thing Jake had ever done. The creature was incredibly heavy, and the storm kept making his boat rock wildly. Twice the rope almost slipped, and Jake thought he would lose his grip on the creature. But finally, with a huge splash, the enormous being landed on Jake's deck. Jake stared at what he had just rescued. Up close, the creature was even more amazing. Its fur was thick and beautiful, changing colors from deep blue to purple to silver as the lightning flashed. The 6 limbs ended in hands that looked almost human, but with longer fingers. Most incredible of all, the metal straps turned out to be some kind of device covered with buttons and small screens. It looked like technology, but more advanced than anything Jake had ever seen. The creature looked at Jake with its bright blue eyes and made those musical purring sounds again. This time, Jake was sure the sounds meant thank you. Jake had just made first contact with an alien being. The storm began to calm down about an hour after Jake pulled the strange creature onto his boat. The wind stopped howling and the waves became smaller. Jake was able to steer his boat toward a small island where he could anchor safely and figure out what to do next. The creature lay on the deck, breathing heavily but alive. Water dripped from its thick fur, which was now showing more colors than Jake had first noticed. In the better light, he could see streaks of gold and green mixed with the blue and purple. The fur seemed to change colors slightly as the creature breathed. Jake kept his distance at first. He had no idea if the creature was dangerous. It was certainly big enough to hurt him if it wanted to, but the creature's bright blue eyes looked calm and intelligent. It watched Jake move around the boat but made no aggressive moves. The metal device strapped to the creature's body was clearly some kind of technology. Small lights blinked on and off across its surface. Some of the buttons glowed with soft colors. Jake had never seen anything like it, but it was obviously made by intelligent beings. Jake decided to try communicating. He pointed to himself and said slowly, "Jake. My name is Jake." The creature lifted its large head and made those musical purring sounds again. The sounds were complex with different tones and rhythms. Jake was sure it was trying to talk to him. Jake pointed to the creature and raised his eyebrows, hoping it would understand he was asking for its name. The creature made a series of sounds that Jake tried to remember. The closest he could come to pronouncing it was Rex. "Rex?" Jake said, pointing to the creature. The creature's eyes seemed to brighten, and it made what Jake thought might be an agreeing sound. Jake decided to call the alien Rex. For the next hour, Jake and Rex tried to communicate with gestures and simple sounds. Jake learned that Rex was hurt but not seriously injured. Rex seemed to understand that Jake had saved his life. Several times, Rex made gentle purring sounds while looking directly at Jake, which felt like expressions of gratitude. Jake brought Rex some fresh water in a bucket. Rex drank carefully, showing that he understood what water was for. Jake offered some fish from his research samples, but Rex sniffed them and gently pushed them away. Jake wondered what Rex normally ate. As the afternoon went on, something interesting started happening with Rex's metal device. The small lights began blinking faster, and some of the dead screens started to glow weakly. Jake realized the device had been damaged by water but was slowly recovering. Rex noticed the changes too. He looked down at the device and touched some of the buttons with his long fingers. Suddenly, one of the screens lit up brightly, showing symbols that looked like writing. Then something amazing happened. A voice came from the device, speaking English. "Translation system partially restored," the device said in a mechanical voice. "Language patterns detected. Beginning communication protocol." Jake jumped back in surprise. The device was some kind of universal translator. Rex touched more buttons and the device made several beeping sounds. Then Rex spoke in his musical language and the device translated his words into English. "I thank you for saving my life," came the mechanical voice. "You have shown great bravery and kindness." Jake could hardly believe what was happening. He was actually talking to an alien being. "You can understand me now?" Jake asked. Rex spoke again and the translator said, "Yes, though the translation system is still damaged. Some words may not be correct. I am called Rex of the Faloran people. Faloran, Jake repeated. Where are you from, Rex? Rex pointed up at the sky and spoke for a long time. The translator worked to turn his words into English. I come from a world that circles a star very far from here. My people are explorers and scientists. We study other worlds and the life that grows on them. I came to your world to study the great waters and the creatures that live in them. Jake felt his mind spinning. Aliens existed, and one was sitting on his boat talking to him. What happened to you? Jake asked. How did you end up drowning in the storm? Rex's fur seemed to darken slightly as he answered. The translator converted his response. My ship was damaged by the storm. It fell from the sky into the deep water. My crew members, they did not survive. I was the only one who escaped from the ship, but I could not swim to the surface. The breathing device on my body was too heavy. Jake felt sad for Rex. He had lost his friends and nearly died himself. I'm sorry about your crew, Jake said. Are there others of your people who will come looking for you? Rex was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his answer surprised Jake. My people know I am here, but they cannot come to help me openly. Your world has been marked as forbidden by the Great Council that rules many star systems. We are not supposed to make contact with your people. Why not? Jake asked. The Council believes your people are too violent and dangerous. They think humans are not ready to know about life on other worlds. Jake felt a mix of emotions. He was disappointed that humans were seen as violent, but he was also curious about this council that made decisions about Earth. But you're talking to me now, Jake pointed out. Rex made what sounded like a laugh, and the translator picked it up. Yes, and I am very glad about that. You saved my life when you could have sailed away. You risked your own safety to help a creature you had never seen before. This shows me that the council may be wrong about humans. Jake looked out at the calm water around their small island. The sun was starting to set, painting the sky orange and pink. His whole view of the universe had changed in just one day. What happens now? Jake asked. Rex touched his translator device and spoke carefully. Now I must decide whether to call for rescue and leave your world quietly, or stay and learn more about humans like you. Either choice could change both our peoples forever. Jake realized that saving Rex from the storm might have been more important than he could possibly have imagined. Jake spent the night on the small island with Rex. He had called his research station on the radio and told them he was waiting out the storm. It was not exactly a lie, but Jake could not tell them the real reason he was staying away. As the hours passed, Jake learned more about Rex and his people. The Falorans were part of something called the Galactic Community, which included dozens of different alien species. They had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. How many worlds have life on them? Jake asked as they sat by a small fire on the beach. Rex's translator device was working much better now. His response came through clearly. Thousands of worlds have life. Hundreds have intelligent species like yours and mine. The galaxy is full of different peoples with different ways of living. Jake tried to imagine it. All those worlds with their own creatures, their own cultures, their own stories. Earth was just one small planet in an enormous community. Tell me more about this council, Jake said, the one that says humans are too dangerous. Rex was quiet for a moment. His fur had been shifting colors all evening, and now it became darker. The Galactic Council makes rules for how different species interact with each other. They decide which worlds are ready to join the community and which ones should be left alone. And they think Earth should be left alone. Yes, Rex said. They look at your history of wars and the damage done to your world's environment. They see humans as a violent species that might cause trouble for other worlds. Jake felt frustrated. He knew humans had done terrible things, but they had also done amazing things. Humans had created beautiful art and music. They had worked together to solve problems. They had shown incredible kindness and bravery. But you don't think that's true, Jake said. You said the council might be wrong. Rex stood up and walked to the edge of the water. His 6 limbs moved gracefully across the sand. When he spoke, his voice sounded worried. Jake, I must tell you something that will be difficult to hear. The council is not the only group that makes decisions about your world. Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. What do you mean? There is another group called the Hegemony. They are powerful species that want to control other worlds instead of helping them. They take resources and make other peoples work for them. Like slaves, Jake said. Yes, like slaves. The hegemony has been watching your world for many years. They are not interested in whether humans are ready to join the galactic community. They want to take your world's resources and make your people work for them. Jake stared at Rex. The idea was terrifying. Are they coming here? Rex's fur turned almost completely black. They have ships waiting at the edge of your star system. They are planning to invade soon. Jake felt like the world was spinning around him. First contact with aliens, and now he was learning that Earth was about to be invaded. How soon? Jake asked. I do not know exactly. Maybe months, maybe less. The hegemony is waiting for the right moment. Jake walked up and down the beach trying to think. What can we do? How can Earth defend itself against aliens with advanced technology? That is why I am really here, Rex said. I was not just studying your oceans. I am part of a group that opposes the hegemony. We are trying to find ways to stop the invasion. Jake stopped walking and looked at Rex. You're some kind of spy. I am a resistance fighter. My real mission was to learn about human military abilities and find ways to help your people defend themselves. And what did you learn? Rex was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his words surprised Jake. I learned that the Council and the hegemony are both wrong about humans. You are not too violent to join the galactic community, and you are not too weak to defend yourselves. What makes you say that? You saved my life when you had never seen anything like me before. You risked your safety in a dangerous storm to help a stranger. That shows courage and kindness that many species in the galaxy have lost. Jake sat down on the sand next to Rex. But kindness won't stop invasion ships. You would be surprised, Rex said. The hegemony succeeds because they make different species fight each other. They convince people that cooperation is impossible, but humans seem naturally good at working together when facing danger. Jake thought about this. He remembered stories of humans coming together during natural disasters, helping strangers and sharing resources. Is there hope? Jake asked. There is always hope, but stopping the hegemony will require humans to know the truth about what is coming. Your leaders will need to prepare your people, and the galaxy will need to see that humans are worth saving. Jake looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, alien ships were preparing to invade his world, but also up there were allies like Rex who wanted to help. What's the first step? Jake asked. We need to contact the resistance. My ship's communication system was damaged in the crash, but it might still work for sending messages. If we can reach other resistance fighters, we can begin planning. Jake made a decision that would change everything. Then let's go find your ship. Rex looked at Jake with his bright blue eyes. This will be very dangerous. The hegemony has spies everywhere. If they learn that a human knows their plans, they might attack immediately. Then we better work fast, Jake said. As they prepared to leave the island the next morning, Jake realized his life as a simple marine biologist was over. Now he was part of something much bigger and much more dangerous, but he was not afraid. For the first time since meeting Rex, Jake felt like humanity had a real chance to survive what was coming. The question was whether they could act fast enough. Jake and Rex spent 2 days searching for the crashed alien ship. Using Jake's boat and Rex's knowledge of where he had fallen into the ocean, they finally located the wreckage in about 60 feet of water near a coral reef. The ship was unlike anything Jake had ever imagined. It was shaped like a smooth teardrop, about the size of a small airplane. Parts of it were clearly damaged from the crash, but much of the hull still looked intact. I will need to dive down to reach the communication system, Rex said as they floated above the wreck. The equipment I need is inside the ship. I can dive that deep, Jake offered. I have scuba gear. But Rex shook his head. The ship's systems will only respond to me, and there may be security measures that could be dangerous to humans. Jake watched as Rex slipped into the water. The alien was an amazing swimmer, moving through the water faster than any human could. His 6 limbs worked together perfectly, and he could hold his breath much longer than Jake expected. While Rex was underwater, Jake noticed something strange happening to his own skin. His arms and hands were becoming much paler than normal. At first he thought it was just from being out in the sun, but the change was too dramatic and too fast. When Rex returned to the boat carrying a small device that looked like a metallic box covered in glowing symbols, Jake showed him the change in his skin color. Look at this, Jake said, holding up his arms. I'm turning white. Is this some kind of alien disease? Rex stared at Jake's pale skin, and his own fur began changing colors rapidly. It shifted from its normal blue and purple to pale silver, then to almost pure white. "Oh no," Rex said, his translator device picking up the worry in his voice. "This is not a disease. This is something much more serious." "What do you mean?" Jake asked, starting to feel scared. Rex set down the communication device and looked directly at Jake. "Among my people, when someone saves the life of a Felleran, an ancient law is invoked. It is called the life charge." "Life charge? What does that mean?" "It means that I am now bound by sacred duty to protect you and your people with my life. And it means that you have become the official representative of humanity in all dealings with other species." Jake felt his stomach drop. "What? I didn't agree to represent anybody. I'm just a marine biologist." "The life charge is not something you can choose," Rex explained. "It happens automatically when a member of another species risks their life to save a Felloran. It is one of our oldest and most important laws." "But why is my skin changing color?" "That is the physical sign that the life charge has been activated. Your body is responding to the psychic connection that now exists between us. My fur turning white shows that I am deeply worried about the responsibility you now carry." Jake sat down heavily on the boat's bench. "So you're saying that by rescuing you, I accidentally became humanity's ambassador to the galaxy?" "Yes, and not just to the galaxy, but specifically in the coming conflict with the hegemony. Under Felloran law, an attack on your species is now the same as an attack on me personally. I must defend humanity as if I were defending my own family." Jake ran his hands through his hair, trying to understand what this meant. "And other alien species will recognize this law. All members of the galactic community recognize Felloran life charges. Even many hegemony species respect it, though they may try to use it against us." "How?" Rex's fur became even paler. "If the hegemony learns that a human holds a life charge on a Felloran, they may decide to attack Earth immediately instead of waiting. They will not want to face the complications that come with fighting a species protected by Felloran law." Jake looked at his white hands again. The change was still spreading up his arms. "Is this permanent?" "The skin change will fade once the immediate danger passes, but the life charge itself lasts forever. I am bound to you and your species until my death. And I'm really humanity's representative now. What if I make the wrong decision? What if I say something that gets everyone killed?" Rex moved closer to Jake. "The life charge would not have activated if you were not worthy of it. The ancient laws can sense the character of a person's heart. You saved my life without thinking about rewards or consequences. You acted out of pure compassion and courage. But I don't know anything about galactic politics or alien species. How can I speak for all of humanity? You will learn, and you will not be alone. I will teach you everything I know about the galaxy and its peoples. Other resistance fighters will help us. Most importantly, you will have the support of your own people once they learn the truth." Jake stood up and walked to the front of the boat. The ocean stretched out in all directions, looking the same as it had his whole life. But everything was different now. Earth was no longer alone in the universe, and somehow Jake had become the person responsible for humanity's future and galactic civilization. "What happens next?" Jake asked. "First, we use the communication device to contact the resistance. We tell them about the life charge and ask for their help. Then we must find a way to warn your government leaders about the coming invasion. They'll think we're crazy. Perhaps at first, but we will have proof. My ship's technology, the communication device, and the physical changes in both of us will be evidence they cannot ignore." Jake looked at Rex, whose fur was still pale with worry. "Are you afraid?" "Yes," Rex admitted. "The life charge is both a great honor and a terrible burden. I am afraid of failing to protect your people, but I am also hopeful." "Why hopeful?" "Because the universe works in mysterious ways. Perhaps it is not an accident that I crashed during that storm. Perhaps it is not an accident that you were the one who found me. Maybe the life charge was meant to happen." Jake thought about this. 2 days ago, he had been collecting water samples and thinking about fish populations. Now he was Earth's ambassador to an alien galaxy, with the fate of humanity possibly resting on his shoulders. Do you really think we have a chance against the hegemony? Jake asked. Rex's fur began to show hints of gold mixed with the white. I think humans have something that the hegemony has never encountered before. You have the ability to inspire others to do the right thing, even when it is dangerous or difficult. That is a power that can change the galaxy. Jake looked at his pale hands one more time, then picked up the alien communication device. Then let's get started. The alien communication device worked better than Jake had hoped. Within hours of activating it, Rex had made contact with resistance fighters from several different species across the galaxy. Jake listened as Rex spoke in his musical language to voices that came through the device in clicks, whistles, and sounds he had never heard before. The translator worked hard to convert everything into English, but some concepts were difficult to understand. The resistance is excited about the life charge, Rex explained after ending a long conversation with someone called a crystalline elder. Many species have heard stories about human bravery, but they were not sure if the stories were true. What stories? Jake asked. Stories about humans risking their lives to save animals during natural disasters. Stories about humans sharing food with strangers during emergencies. Stories about humans working together to solve problems that seem impossible. Jake was surprised. How do aliens know about things like that? The galaxy has been watching your world for a long time. Not just the Council and the hegemony, but individual species who are curious about new forms of intelligent life. Some resistance members have been secretly studying human behavior for years. And they liked what they saw? Very much. That is why many species are willing to help defend Earth, even though it means fighting the powerful hegemony. Over the next few days, Jake learned about the allies that humanity now had. The crystalline elders were ancient beings made of living rock, who could share knowledge instantly across vast distances. The swift-wing people were expert pilots who knew how to fight in space. The deep speakers were underwater dwellers who understood ocean warfare better than anyone. But Jake also learned about the enemies they faced. The hegemony was led by species called the Iron Fist, mechanical beings who viewed other life forms as tools to be used. Their allies included the Void Hunters, who destroyed planets for sport, and the Flesh Traders, who captured and sold intelligent beings as slaves. How many ships does the hegemony have waiting to attack Earth? Jake asked. Our spies estimate at least 200 warships, with more arriving every day. They also have transport ships to carry away prisoners and cargo ships to steal your world's resources. Jake felt sick thinking about it. How many ships does the Resistance have? Much fewer. Perhaps 50 warships of various sizes. But we have advantages they do not expect. Such as, we know they are coming. We know their plans. And now we have something they have never faced before. A species protected by a forlorn life charge fighting on their homeworld. The biggest challenge was convincing Earth's governments that the threat was real. Jake and Rex decided to approach the United States military first. Since Jake was an American citizen and had some connection to government research through his university work, they arranged to meet with Colonel Lisa Martinez, who was in charge of a military science division that investigated unusual phenomena. Jake had worked with her department before when his research boats had encountered unexplained underwater objects. The meeting took place at a secure military base in Florida. Jake was nervous as he and Rex walked into the briefing room. Rex had agreed to appear without his translator device working, to make the demonstration more dramatic. Colonel Martinez was a serious woman in her 40s who had seen many strange things during her career. But nothing had prepared her for meeting an alien. Colonel Martinez, Jake said, I want you to meet Rex of the Faloran people. Rex stepped forward and spoke in his musical language. Then he activated his translator device. Greetings, Colonel Martinez. I come in peace, and I bring a warning that your world is in great danger. Colonel Martinez stared at Rex for a long moment. Then she looked at Jake's pale skin and asked the question Jake had been expecting. Assuming this is not an elaborate hoax, why should we trust either of you? Jake and Rex spent the next 4 hours explaining everything. They showed her Rex's technology, including devices that could analyze materials in ways that human science could not match. They shared recordings of communications with the Resistance, translated so that Colonel Martinez could understand them. Most importantly, they explained about the life charge and what it meant. So you're telling me that this alien is magically bound to protect humanity, and Jake is now our official representative to the galaxy? Colonel Martinez asked. The life charge is not magic, Rex explained. It is a psychic and physical connection that has been studied by Feloran scientists for thousands of years. It creates real biological and emotional bonds between species. And it means that an attack on humanity is now considered an attack on the Feloran people, Jake added. That changes the political situation in the galaxy significantly. Colonel Martinez was quiet for a long time. Finally, she asked, "What do you need from us?" "We need to prepare Earth's defenses using both human and alien technology," Rex said. "We need to coordinate with the resistance fleet that is coming to help defend your world. And we need to do it all without letting the hegemony know that we are ready for them." "How long do we have?" "Our best intelligence suggests the attack will come within 6 to 8 weeks, Rex replied. Colonel Martinez stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Jake could see regular human soldiers going about their daily duties, unaware that everything they knew about the universe was about to change. "I'll need to brief the President and the Joint Chiefs of Staff," she said finally. "This is obviously beyond my authority to handle alone." "We understand," Jake said. "But please remember that time is very short." "I also want to bring in scientists from around the world," Colonel Martinez continued. "If we're going to integrate alien technology with human systems, we'll need our best minds working on it." "The Resistance is prepared to share defensive technology with Earth," Rex confirmed. "Energy shields, enhanced weapons, communication systems that work faster than light. But your people will need to learn how to use them quickly." "What about civilians?" Colonel Martinez asked. "Do we tell the public what's coming?" Jake and Rex had discussed this question many times. "We think people should know," Jake said. "Humans work best when they understand what they're fighting for. And if the invasion comes, people will need to know how to respond." "The Resistance has seen this happen on other worlds," Rex added. "Species that unite and work together always do better than species that are kept in the dark by their leaders." Colonel Martinez nodded. "I agree, but we'll need to manage how the information gets out to prevent panic." As they prepared to leave the meeting, Colonel Martinez asked Jake one final question. "Are you ready for this responsibility? Speaking for all of humanity to an entire galaxy of alien species?" Jake looked at his still pale hands, then at Rex, whose fur now showed streaks of gold and silver along with the white. "I don't know if anyone could be ready for something like this," Jake said, "but I'll do my best to represent the qualities that made Rex believe in humanity in the first place, which are courage, compassion, and the willingness to help others even when it's dangerous." Colonel Martinez smiled for the first time during the meeting.
"Then I think humanity chose a good representative."
The invasion came 3 weeks earlier than expected. Jake was in the newly built command center in Colorado, working with scientists and military leaders from 12 different countries, when the alarms started screaming. On the massive displays that covered the walls, red dots appeared at the edge of the solar system. 230 enemy ships detected, announced General Chen, the Chinese officer who was coordinating Earth's space defenses. "They're moving faster than our projections indicated." Jake felt his heart racing as he looked at the screens. Each red dot represented a hegemony warship, filled with alien soldiers who wanted to enslave humanity. It was the moment they had all been preparing for, but it was still terrifying to see it actually happening. "Resistance fleet status?" asked President Williams, who had flown in from Washington that morning. 67 Allied ships are in position around Earth, reported Captain Sarah Johnson, the Navy officer in charge of coordinating with the alien allies. "Commander Rex confirms that all defensive systems are online." Rex stood next to Jake, his fur now showing bright gold and silver colors that indicated determination and hope. Over the past few weeks, he had worked almost without rest to help Earth prepare for this moment. "The hegemony will expect us to surrender immediately," Rex said, his translator device projecting his words clearly through the command center. "They have never encountered serious resistance from a species they plan to enslave. Are we ready to give them a surprise?" President Williams asked. Jake stepped forward. As humanity's official representative under the life charge, he had the authority to speak for Earth in this moment. "We're ready," Jake said, "but I want to try talking to them first." "Talking?" General Chen looked skeptical. "You want to negotiate with an invasion fleet?" "I want to give them a chance to leave peacefully," Jake explained. "The Resistance has taught us that some hegemony species are only following orders because they're afraid. If they see that humanity won't be an easy target, some of them might switch sides." President Williams nodded. It's worth trying. Open a communication channel. The main screen changed to show the bridge of the lead hegemony ship. Jake found himself looking at a being that was clearly mechanical, with red glowing eyes and a body made of dark metal. This was one of the Iron Fist leaders. "Human creatures," the Iron Fist commander said in a voice like grinding gears. "I am War Master Kronex. You will surrender your world immediately and prepare your people for transport to work facilities. Resistance will result in the destruction of your cities." Jake stepped into view of the camera. "War Master Kronex, I am Jake Thompson, speaking for all humanity under the authority of a Fellerin life charge. We reject your demands. Earth is under the protection of the Galactic Resistance, and we are prepared to defend ourselves." The Iron Fist commander's red eyes seemed to glow brighter. "A life charge? Impossible. No primitive species has ever been granted such protection." "Then you haven't been paying attention," Jake replied. "Humanity is not primitive, and we are not helpless. I'm giving you one chance to withdraw your fleet and leave our system peacefully." War Master Kronex made a sound like harsh laughter. "You have 67 small ships against our fleet of over 200 warships. Your resistance is meaningless." "Then come and take our world," Jake said. "But don't say we didn't warn you." The communication ended, and the command center fell quiet for a moment. "Well," President Williams said, "I guess we're doing this the hard way. All human and allied ships, this is Jake Thompson." Jake spoke into the communication system that reached every defensive vessel. "The enemy has chosen war over peace. Remember that we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting to show the galaxy that freedom is worth defending. Make humanity proud." The battle began immediately. Hegemony ships moved toward Earth, expecting quick victory. Instead, they encountered defensive systems unlike anything they had seen before. Earth's satellites had been equipped with Fellerin energy shields that protected the planet's surface. Human fighter pilots flew ships enhanced with swift-wing technology that made them incredibly fast and maneuverable. The orbital defense stations used weapons powered by crystalline, elder energy cores that could punch through the strongest armor. But the most surprising thing for the hegemony was how well humans and aliens worked together. Resistance ships and human vessels moved like they had been fighting as a team for years instead of weeks. "Enemy ships are breaking formation," reported Captain Johnson. "I think we're actually winning." The battle raged for 6 hours. Jake watched from the command center as red dots disappeared from the screens, representing destroyed hegemony ships. But green and blue dots disappeared too, showing that Earth and its allies were also taking losses. The turning point came when War Master Kronex's ship tried to break through the defensive line to attack Earth directly. Jake watched as Rex personally led a group of mixed human and alien fighters to intercept the massive vessel. "This is Commander Rex to all units," came his voice over the communication system. "The enemy flagship is mine. All fighters, protect the smaller human ships and let them show the galaxy what Earth courage looks like." What followed was the most incredible display of cooperation Jake had ever seen. Human pilots flew their ships directly into danger to protect damaged alien vessels. Alien captains risked their own ships to shield human fighters from enemy fire. Species that had never met before worked together like they had been allies forever. In the end, it was a human pilot named Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez who delivered the final blow to War Master Kronex's ship, flying a fighter enhanced with alien technology. She managed to get through the flagship's defenses and destroy its main power core. With their leader dead and their fleet in tatters, the remaining hegemony ships began to retreat. Many of the smaller species that had been forced to serve the Iron Fist actually switched sides, asking to join the resistance. "Enemy fleet is retreating," announced General Chen. "We did it. We actually beat them." The command center erupted in cheers. Jake felt like his legs might give out from relief and exhaustion. But the celebration was interrupted when new signals appeared on the communication system. Ships from all across the galaxy were sending messages to Earth. "We have incoming communications from 47 different species," reported the communications officer. "They all want to talk to the human representative who holds the Fellerin life charge." Jake looked at the flood of messages appearing on the screens. Species he had never heard of were congratulating humanity on their victory and asking to establish diplomatic relations. "It appears," said President Williams with a smile, "that Earth just became famous throughout the galaxy." Over the following days, Jake learned that the battle had changed everything. The story of humans and aliens working together to defeat the hegemony spread across thousands of worlds. Species that had been too afraid to oppose the Iron Fist began to rebel. The Galactic Council announced that Earth would be invited to join the interstellar community as an equal member. Jake stood on the beach where he had first talked with Rex, watching alien ships land nearby. Diplomats from dozens of species were coming to Earth to establish embassies and trade agreements. Rex walked up beside him, his fur now showing brilliant gold and blue colors that indicated joy and satisfaction. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Jake asked. "Look around you," Rex replied. "Humans and aliens working together, sharing knowledge, building friendships across species lines. The galaxy has not seen cooperation like this in thousands of years." Jake's skin had returned to its normal color, now that the immediate danger was over. But he knew the life-charge connection with Rex would last forever. "What happens next?" Jake asked. "Now the real work begins," Rex said. "Building a better galaxy where all species can live free and help each other." And it all started because one human was brave enough to save a drowning alien during a storm. Jake smiled as he watched human children playing with young aliens on the beach. "I guess sometimes the smallest actions have the biggest consequences." "That," Rex said, "is the most human thing you have ever said. And it is why the galaxy needed you to be part of it." As the sun set over the ocean, Jake realized that his life as a simple marine biologist was truly over. But his new life as humanity's bridge to the stars was just beginning.